It was a quiet morning in the small town of Willow Creek when the first whispers started. The Harper estate, a sprawling mansion hidden behind high iron gates, had been abandoned for years or so everyone thought, but the disappearance of 32-year-old Emily Harper had reignited curiosity and suspicion like wildfire. Neighbors remembered her as quiet but bright, a woman with a sharp mind and a calm demeanor. Her sudden disappearance had been shocking. No note, no signs of struggle, just an empty apartment with a meticulously packed suitcase. Her family claimed she had gone on a trip, but as the days turned into weeks, the whispers grew. Detective Laura Simmons had been following the case since day one. She had dealt with missing persons before, but Emily's case was different. There was a strange precision to everything. The way her bank accounts were frozen, the carefully erased phone records, and the mysterious lawyer visits that no one could explain. Greater than, people don't just vanish, Laura muttered to herself as she examined the Harper estate from across the street. The mansion was grand, almost oppressive in its elegance, with tall windows reflecting the morning sun like watchful eyes. Rumors about the family's hidden fortune had circulated for decades. The Harpers were wealthy beyond imagination, owning stocks, properties, and investments that seemed untouchable. But the money came with secrets, and Emily, it seemed, had stumbled upon them. Inside the mansion, dust-covered furniture as if time itself had stopped. But in the library, something was out of place. A single book lay open on a desk, a ledger Emily had kept. Notes in her neat handwriting detailed financial transactions, offshore accounts, and unexplained transfers that suggested someone in her family had been siphoning millions. Laura bent closer, her heart racing. "This isn't just a missing person case," she whispered. "This is something much bigger." Outside, a black car slowed near the estate gate. A man in a gray coat stepped out, glancing around cautiously before disappearing into the shadows. He moved with purpose, carrying a briefcase that seemed to hum with importance. Meanwhile, Emily's phone, hidden in a safe deposit box under a false identity, vibrated with messages she couldn't ignore. Each one was a warning. "They are watching. Stop digging, or you disappear for good." Emily Harper had vanished, yes, but she wasn't gone. Somewhere, hidden from the world, she was piecing together the truth about her family, the fortune they guarded, and the people willing to do anything to keep it secret. And as Detective Simmons looked back at the estate, she realized the chase had just begun. Days turned into weeks, and Willow Creek buzzed with speculation. News outlets ran stories about Emily Harper's disappearance, each more sensational than the last. Some claimed she had fled to escape her family. Others whispered darker tales, blackmail, betrayal, even murder. But Detective Laura Simmons knew better than to trust rumors. Back at the estate, the library remained Emily's secret sanctuary. The ledger she had discovered wasn't just numbers and accounts. It was a roadmap. Every entry hinted at hidden properties, offshore corporations, and cryptic notes about anonymous beneficiaries. One name kept appearing: Carter and Sons Trust. Emily stared at the pages, her mind racing. Her family wasn't just hiding wealth. They were hiding control. The Harpers had built an empire that extended far beyond Willow Creek, using layers of secrecy to manipulate the world around them. And now she was in danger simply for uncovering it. A sudden noise made her freeze. Footsteps, deliberate, careful, echoed through the abandoned hallway. Emily ducked behind a velvet armchair, clutching the ledger. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a soft click. The sound of a lock turning. Someone was inside. Greater than. "Not today," she whispered, pressing herself into the shadows. Meanwhile, Detective Simmons reviewed surveillance footage from the surrounding streets. There, a blurry figure, moving with precision, carrying a briefcase that seemed too heavy for one person. The timestamp matched the arrival of the man in the gray coat. Laura had noticed days earlier. Something about him screamed professional, trained, dangerous. Emily knew she couldn't stay. She packed the ledger, her phone, and a small amount of cash into a backpack. Every decision felt like a gamble. She had no allies she could trust fully. Every phone call could be traced. Every street corner could hold a watcher. Her escape route led through the back of the estate, down overgrown pathways that hadn't seen maintenance in years. Each step was cautious, calculated. She paused at a hidden gate, looking back at the mansion, the walls, the windows, the secrets, all silent witnesses to her family's deceit. Out in the woods, she finally allowed herself to breathe. But safety was an illusion. A drone hovered silently above, almost invisible against the twilight sky. Emily's stomach nodded. They were always watching. Meanwhile, Detective Simmons received an anonymous tip. A message on her encrypted line. Greater than, Emily Harper knows more than you think. Protect her before it's too late. Laura's pulse quickened. The case was no longer just a disappearance. It was a labyrinth of family secrets, hidden fortunes, and dangerous players willing to do anything to protect their empire. Emily Harper was no longer a missing person. She was a target, and the game had only just begun. Emily moved silently through the dense forest surrounding Willow Creek, her backpack pressing against her back, the ledger safe inside. Every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl made her heart race. She had no plan beyond finding a secure place to examine the documents and staying alive. Hours later, she arrived at a small, abandoned cabin she had discovered months earlier on a hiking trip. It was isolated, off any main roads, and far enough from prying eyes to give her a chance to breathe. She shut the door, bolted it, and dropped her pack onto the floor. The ledger opened like a Pandora's box. Offshore accounts, property titles, coded names. The family fortune wasn't just hidden. It was labyrinthine. Emily realized her family had woven a network of trusts and shell corporations, so complex that even seasoned auditors could get lost in it. One entry made her freeze. Project Solstice, payout scheduled 2025. Beneficiary, unknown. She traced the numbers, the transfers, the connections. The deeper she delved, the more dangerous it seemed. The Harpers weren't just hiding wealth. They were hiding control over the town, the local government, and even law enforcement. It was clear now why her disappearance had been so easy to conceal. Her family had friends in every corner. Her mind raced. How much could she reveal before they caught her? And how far would they go to stop her? Suddenly, a noise at the cabin's window made her whip around. Shadows flitted past the glass. Emily grabbed a small flashlight and shone it outside. Nothing. Only the forest, swaying in the wind. She exhaled slowly, but the unease lingered. Meanwhile, Detective Laura Simmons pieced together another clue. The anonymous tip had included coordinates, the location of the ledger. Laura knew this could be Emily's only chance for survival. But it also meant the detective had to move carefully. One misstep, and both could be in danger. Emily spent the night cataloging the ledger's contents. Names of people she had trusted, amounts of money funneled secretly, cryptic references to board members who had no public profile. Every page added another layer to the mystery. She began to understand that her family's fortune wasn't just wealth. It was an influence, power, and the ability to manipulate lives at will. By dawn, exhaustion and fear weighed heavily on her. She needed allies, someone who could help her bring the truth to light without getting crushed in the process. But whom could she trust? Every person connected to her family could be a spy. Every phone line could be tapped. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the cabin's broken windows, Emily made a decision. She would no longer hide. The ledger would see the light of day, no matter the cost. But somewhere in the shadows, a figure watched, noting her every move. The Harpers weren't blind, and they would not let her succeed easily. Emily Harper's fight for the truth had officially begun. Emily knew she couldn't continue alone. The ledger was too dangerous, the Harpers too powerful. She needed someone she could trust, someone outside the family's reach. Her mind immediately went to Detective Laura Simmons. Emily had observed her from afar before disappearing, noting her persistence and her unwavering sense of justice. But contacting a police officer carried risks. How could she be sure Laura wasn't influenced by her family's reach? Emily decided to take the risk. using a secure, encrypted channel she had discovered years ago. She sent a message. I have the evidence. Meet me at the cabin. Trust no one else. Hours later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Laura arrived. She was cautious, scanning the trees and surrounding area, her hand brushing the edge of her firearm. Emily stepped out of the cabin, holding the ledger tightly. Detective Simmons? Laura nodded. I'm here. Show me everything. The next few hours were intense. Emily laid out the ledger on a makeshift table, pointing out shell companies, offshore accounts, and suspicious transfers. Laura's eyes widened as she connected the dots. This isn't just a family hiding money, she said slowly. They're manipulating entire institutions, and possibly people's lives. Emily nodded. Exactly. And now they're aware I'm onto them. I saw a figure near the cabin today. Someone is watching. Laura leaned back, processing. We need a plan. If they know where the ledger is, they'll come after us. Emily felt a shiver. I don't have much time. I need to get this information out. Public. Exposed. Laura considered the risks. We'll have to be strategic. Slow movements, limited digital traces. We can create multiple copies and distribute them securely to independent journalists and whistleblower networks. But first, we need to ensure your safety. The two women worked through the night, strategizing each step. Every sound outside made them flinch. The snapping of twigs, the distant hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves. Emily realized just how close danger always was. Finally, they paused. Outside, the forest seemed silent, yet the tension in the cabin was palpable. Laura looked at Emily, determination in her eyes. We're going to bring them down, together. Emily felt a glimmer of hope, something she hadn't felt in years. An ally, someone she could trust completely. For the first time since disappearing, the fear didn't feel as suffocating. But just as they prepared to move the ledger to a safer location, a distant engine growled through the trees. Someone was approaching. Emily's heart pounded. Laura whispered, They found us. Move. Now. With the ledger secured in a hidden backpack, the two women vanished into the darkness of the forest, beginning a dangerous chase that would determine who controlled the truth, Emily or her powerful family. The forest was alive with shadows, but Emily and Laura moved swiftly, their footsteps muffled by the damp undergrowth. Every snap of a branch, every distant sound made Emily flinch. She clutched the backpack containing the ledger as if it were her lifeline, because it was. Laura kept a steady pace beside her, scanning the tree line for movement. They know exactly where we are, she whispered. We need to reach the safe house before nightfall. Emily nodded, sweat dripping down her temples. The weight of the ledger was nothing compared to the burden of knowledge it contained. Each page was a potential bombshell, exposing embezzlement, hidden properties, and the influence her family wielded over local authorities. But it also made her a target. Hours passed and the shadows grew longer. Emily's phone buzzed briefly, a reminder of the anonymous warnings she had received earlier. They are watching. Stop digging or you disappear for good. She had ignored them until now. But the fear was real. A sudden noise made them both freeze, a distant engine revving. A black SUV was approaching, lights off, almost invisible among the trees. Laura gestured for Emily to duck behind a fallen log. The SUV slowed, then paused. Two men in dark suits stepped out, scanning the forest. They were professionals, trained and dangerous. Emily's mind raced. If they find me with this ledger, it's over. She considered running, but Laura grabbed her arm. Nope, we stay together. Follow my lead. The two women moved silently, zigzagging through the trees, using the undergrowth as cover. The men split up, methodically searching the area. Emily's heart pounded with every step. The chase wasn't just about distance, it was a battle of wits. Hours later, just as exhaustion threatened to take over, they reached a narrow stream. Laura pointed across. We can use this to mask our trail. Water covers footprints. Emily took a deep breath, wading into the cold water. Every step was a struggle, the current biting at her ankles, but they made it across undetected. Behind them, the men paused at the edge of the stream, scanning the opposite bank, but they had lost the trail. Finally, in the distance, A faint light flickered. The safe house, a small cabin rented anonymously through encrypted contacts. Emily's relief was palpable, but she knew the danger wasn't over. The Harpers were resourceful, and now they had proof that Emily was actively uncovering their secrets. Inside the safe house, Laura secured the doors and windows. Emily spread the ledger on the table, her hands trembling. "We need to act fast," she said. "This information, it could bring them down, but if we hesitate, they'll come for us again." Laura nodded, her face set with determination. "We'll make copies. We'll distribute them carefully, and we'll plan every move to stay one step ahead." Morning broke over the dense forest, but sleep was a luxury Emily and Laura could not afford. The safe house, though secure, felt fragile against the reach of the Harper family. Every knock, every creak outside could signal the arrival of their pursuers. Emily reviewed the ledger again, memorizing names, numbers, and connections. "We need to make this public," she said. "If I stay hidden, the Harpers control the narrative. If I release this, they lose control." Laura nodded, checking the encrypted devices she had brought. "We'll need a network, independent journalists, whistleblowers, digital platforms outside their influence. But first, we need to ensure no one traces us here." Hours passed as they worked, layering encryption and creating secure copies of the ledger. Emily's hands shook from exhaustion and anxiety, but her determination never wavered. The weight of the truth was heavy, but it was a burden she was willing to carry. Then the first sign of danger arrived. A soft tapping on a nearby window made Emily jump. Laura quickly moved to investigate, peering through the blinds. Outside, a drone hovered, its tiny red light blinking ominously. Someone was scouting the safe house. They had found them. "Greater than." "They're adapting," Laura whispered. "They know we're trying to leak the information." Emily clenched her fists. "Then we accelerate. We release this today." Using an encrypted satellite connection, they began transmitting segments of the ledger to trusted journalists across the globe. Each file sent felt like a small victory, but it also increased the risk. The Harpers' network was vast, and their retaliation could be swift. As the sun rose higher, a new threat emerged. A black helicopter appeared over the tree line, its rotor blades slicing through the morning air. Emily ducked instinctively, heart pounding. Laura pulled her to the ground. "Greater than?" "They won't hesitate," Laura said grimly. "They'll take anything, the ledger, us, everything." But Emily refused to yield. "The world will know. I'll make sure of it." By midday, copies of the ledger had been safely transmitted. The Harpers' hidden empire was exposed, their offshore accounts revealed, and their manipulations laid bare. Across the globe, journalists began to report on the shocking revelations. The tide had begun to turn, yet as they watched the first headlines flash across their screens, Emily felt no relief. The Harpers were enraged, and she knew the fight for survival was far from over. From the shadows, a figure watched them through night vision goggles, making a call. "Greater than. They've started the leak. Prepare the next move. They cannot escape this time." Emily Harper and Detective Laura Simmons had struck the first blow. But the battle with the Harper Empire was just beginning. The first wave of public exposure sent shockwaves through Willow Creek and beyond. News outlets broadcasted the details from the ledger, hidden accounts, secret properties, and the intricate web of influence the Harper family had built over decades. The world was watching, but the Harpers were not idle. Within hours, their private security teams mobilized. They scoured the forest, tracked digital footprints, and mobilized local contacts. Their goal was clear: retrieve the ledger and eliminate the threat. Emily and Laura knew this moment would come. The safe house was compromised. The once distant threat was now immediate. Shadows moved outside, unseen but felt. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves amplified their anxiety. Laura peered through a binocular lens, spotting movement in the tree line. "They're coming," she whispered, voice tight with tension. "We need to move. Now." Emily grabbed the backpack, ensuring the ledger was secure. "We can't let them get it. Everything we've done, all the truth, it's too important." They navigated the forest with precision. avoiding the main paths, using the dense underbrush as cover. The sounds of helicopters, distant engines, and radio chatter created a tense symphony of pursuit. Emily's heart pounded with every step. She knew one misstep could cost them everything. After hours of careful maneuvering, they reached an old, abandoned railway tunnel, a temporary refuge, and a point to reassess their strategy. Emily opened the backpack and stared at the ledger. Illuminated by the flickering flashlight, the truth was laid bare, but their enemies were relentless. Laura set up a makeshift communication hub. We'll send the next batch of files through a secure satellite uplink. By the time they locate us again, the information will already be out there. Suddenly, a distant explosion shook the forest. Trees trembled as smoke rose in the distance. The Harpers had begun a more aggressive counterattack. Their resources were vast, and they were willing to escalate to protect their empire. Emily's hands trembled, but her resolve hardened. They can try to scare me. They can try to chase me, but they cannot erase the truth. Hours later, the satellite uplink completed its transmission. News organizations across the globe had received the files. Public outrage grew as journalists revealed the depth of the corruption and secrecy. The Harpers' influence was crumbling, but the cost of exposure was still imminent. As night fell, Emily and Laura moved further into the forest, always staying one step ahead. Behind them, the shadows of the Harper Empire advanced relentlessly, their presence a constant reminder. The battle for survival was far from over, and the final confrontation was approaching. The forest had grown eerily quiet. Emily and Laura, exhausted but resolute, paused to catch their breath. The ledger, the weapon of truth, was still secure, its revelations already igniting outrage across the globe. But the Harpers were not finished. In the distance, the faint hum of helicopters and the crunch of boots signaled the closing of the net. Emily's heart pounded as she scanned the shadows, searching for the next move. Every instinct screamed danger. Laura whispered, "We're close. One final push and we can bring this to the authorities safely. The public exposure will protect us." Emily nodded, determination blazing in her eyes. It's time they faced the consequences of their actions. They emerged from the forest onto a quiet country road where an unmarked car waited. Laura checked the surroundings and motioned Emily inside. The vehicle sped toward a secure drop point where trusted journalists and legal authorities awaited the evidence. Every mile was a battle against fear. Emily thought of the years of hiding, the constant shadow of danger, and the moral weight of exposing her own family. But as she saw the first flashes of dawn breaking over the horizon, a sense of purpose replaced fear. At the drop point, the ledger was handed over to a team of investigative journalists. Cameras captured every moment. The files were verified, cross-checked, and prepared for worldwide release. Emily and Laura watched, silent but proud. The truth was finally out. Across town, the Harper estate was in chaos. Board members and family enforcers scrambled to contain the damage. But it was too late. The empire they had built on secrecy and manipulation crumbled before their eyes. News headlines screamed across screens everywhere. Harper family's secrets exposed. Billion-dollar empire uncovered. Emily felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. Her family's legacy was destroyed, but justice was served. Laura placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Greater than, you did the right thing," Laura said softly. "The world needed to know." Emily looked back one last time at the forest she had called her hiding place for so long. The shadows of fear and secrecy were behind her, replaced by the light of truth. And though she knew the Harpers would never forgive, she finally felt free. The years of disappearance, the endless fear, and the heavy burden of knowledge had led to one undeniable reality. Some truths are worth every risk, every step into the unknown, and every sacrifice. Emily Harper had vanished, but she returned as the catalyst for justice. And the world would never forget the story of the girl who disappeared and the secrets she unearthed.